companies. And I don't know the present statistics, but around my time, at least 20 or 25 companies actually came to our college. And the process of a placement is usually very generic. It's repeated. All companies follow this process. And as you guys already know, every placement drive for an IT company always starts with a uh, a coding test, which would be followed by multiple sets of interviews, a GD maybe, and maybe a final HR interview, and then you will be in a position where they will give you an offer. So first things first, the main thing that all of us are preparing for, will be preparing for, will be the coding test part. So any company, any IT company these days will use a coding test as a way to filter out the best talent. And usually, coding tests will be, time driven events. It would be a 1 hour, a 2 hour scenario. You will have to get into a proprietary software. Mostly, it would be something like, lead code, similar to lead code, and interface similar to lead code. You'll have to get into a web browser. You will have to log in. It usually and would highly most probably be a monitored meeting where you will have to turn on your camera. You will have to attend the test from a setup where you are completely visible. Your surroundings are clearly visible. Your face is clearly visible. So you'll be monitored through the entire test. And usually, for most of the companies, the coding part of it, or the coding test, will be three sets of questions, and you will be given multiple options, multiple languages to choose from on how to, actually attempt these questions. And there will be usual options of Java, C++, Python, and such kind of languages. And few tips for myself. I have been in 10 or 15 of these coding tests. There were certain companies which had multiple coding tests, and always companies usually follow a pattern because we are most of us are freshers, and will be looking. This would be the first company for you guys, so they would be expecting a minimum amount of understanding, especially for IT companies, in concepts of data structures, concepts of algorithms, concepts of loops, metrics, and everything. So I would suggest, as a code preparation for this round, to actually jump into online training sessions and tools like Lead Code is the best example. And as you guys might have already heard, industry is moving away from this sort of coding tests, but that will take some time, and at least for the next couple of years, right? Coding tests will be there. DSA, data structures and algorithms, will be a major part of what they actually test you to. So my suggestion: get into, if you are a beginner, you ask if you are some IT, ESC or CS background, right? You would be already versed in some languages. Most probably might be C or C++. My suggestion is, okay, to stick to those languages. Those are procedural. You will have a better. You will be already having a understanding, and try to refine yourself by getting into these platforms like LeetCode. Most of the questions would be something like recursion, where you will have to uh, call something multiple times to reach a conclusion. It would always be a scenario driven question. So you would be given something like, I have these things, I want to achieve these things. So it's a specific pattern of questions which is followed globally. Just get into something like leak code, and you can get, you can get yourself familiarized with this pattern. And for people who haven't had any coding experience, who are from probably other branches other than the before mentioned, I would suggest, okay, go with something like Python if this is your first programming language, and Python is something that is easy to scale up, that is easy to learn. So just go with Python. Uh, Look into the basic concepts like loops, more, also recursion, and these would be the most kind of questions that would be asked. And mostly it would be three questions. You will be given a time of around 1 hour. And for people like myself who knows multiple languages and gets confused after they get into a platform, right? Always prepare yourself to go and code in a single language. Like you might know multiple languages, say Java or C++, but if you start coding in one language and you just feel, okay, this doesn't feel right, do not just switch to another one. The time you have already put in has been wasted. So just try to make the maximum use of it and try to force yourself into a single language. So have a preparation for that. I would say specifically before, like say 2 or 3 weeks, like you are training yourself, only train in one language, do not go for others. So uh, that is the first thing with this coding tests. And again, as I said, you will have to appear on camera. So let not that not be a bigger distraction, but see, even things you might be doing, say you might be scratching your head or something, that might, it's an AI based platform, so that might come off as that might come off as a tampering at the company's end. And other thing is, uh, okay, as I've already said, common concepts include looping, recursion. There have been, you will need to have a basic understanding of complex data structures. And by this, I mean things like arrays. In Python, it would be things like maps. So there will be certain specific questions which you would initially just see and you would think, okay, I can just loop over this one. But questions, coding rounds, right? They would also take into consideration how much time does the code actually take to run. So they're expecting you to put in the most efficient way. If you cannot find or if you do not arrive with such an idea, just go with the brute force method of whatever first came into your mind. That will give you a partial mark, which is better than having nothing. But always for questions, there would be a simpler approach rather than just looping over things and brute forcing one thing. And with all the companies, uh, I mean, coding round will reduce the number of people who has actually applied for the process to a very few number of individuals. And following that, depending on companies, they will have different processes. Some companies will directly put it into interviews. Some companies will have other round of coding tests. So either way, coding tests, the platform, or let's say the method remains the same. The next process that say is usually comes after is like optionally. This is usually the GD or group discussion, and I mean group discussions are common these days. You guys might have already had group discussions at college, and these are like very different from debates. Group discussions are kind of a situation where there would be you would be split commonly into groups of 6 to 10 usually, and you would be. I mean, if it's online, then you would be asked to sit in a meeting. If it's offline, you would be just gathered together in a room, and there would be a topic which would be given. And my when it I attended my interview, my GDs, the topic was something like inclusion of women into Indian Army. So against and for, and we had to come up with topics. So usually they would give you 5 or 10 minutes maximum to prepare, your points on what you want to actually speak. And I mean, most of them will actually give you a pen and paper, so you can note down your points and everything. And the important thing with GD and the purpose of a group discussion is, okay, this is a method for a company to analyze how much of a team player you are. That is one thing. Second thing, how much willing you are to speak and how much confident you are when you are actually speaking. So let's say you are put into a group of 6 to 8 people. They will give you 10 minutes to actually prepare for your points. Then they'll ask you to start the discussion, and that would be usually 20 to 30 minutes maximum. Uh, Out of a group of 6 to 8, one of them will have to start the discussion, and there is always bonus points for whoever started the discussion or whoever say I'll go first. But obviously I'm saying like this is a thing that everyone knows, so maybe going first might not be an option for everyone. There is also bonus points for people who are going last, as in going last means like who are summarizing the entire discussion. The main point of your, I mean, main aim when you're in a group discussion, right? Even if you do not know anything about the specific topic, try to put yourselves out there. Try to uh, give in one or two. So it would be a 30 minutes meet. Let's just assume, and 6 to 8 people there. Won't be many chances that a person as an individual would actually get to put his on her points. So try to grab those opportunities when you know you can just speak up. Uh, Put in one or 2 points, as in do not overspeak. That is the main thing. And always, when you, this is not a debate. This GD is a scenario where you will be discussing about something, and it's just a discussion. So if you have a very solid viewpoint about something, and you just see someone else speaking opposite to other, uh, if you want to present and conflicting point, just start with something like I agree with the just say I agree with the point that you are saying. I understand the passion that you are putting behind it, but I have a conflicting opinion to pass on. So that should be your introduction when you start a conflicting point. Or even you should not you know just contradict something when someone is speaking, and as in it should not be a debate. Just wait for your turn. Just wait until they are done speaking, and then try to put in your points. And as I said, you must you must speak up at least 1 or 2 times. Not speaking is also a bad thing. Over speaking is also a bad thing, because a person who is over speaking is not a good team player. And also be polite with the entire 6 or 8 people that is attending the same thing. And when it comes to the end of the discussion, right, the end person who would be speaking at the end is who is supposed to summarize the entire thing. So the way you summarize it has to be a very diplomatic summarization, as in you let's say you have very strong opinions about one side of a topic that is being presented, but uh, even then you cannot put your own bias into a summarization. You will have to summarize it with points for and points against the same point. Let's say if it's a topic like women in Indian Army, you will have to summarize the good points for the entire topic, and you'll have to summarize the bad points of the entire topic. And that has to be a irrational speech process. You should not put your bias in it. So that's all about GD. GD is the only thing is, okay, be polite, have a smile, do not interrupt others, and do not underspeak, and also do not overspeak. So GDs are usually the second testing round, and GDs are almost optional. So many companies avoid GDs because GDs are better conducted in an offline mode, and companies usually do not tend to have GDs in an online mode, because GDs, the way your body language, your expressions, those are better captured in offline. So that is about GDs. And the next thing that always follows are interviews, and there are different kinds of interviews that can get into. And to summarize, right, companies will have technical interviews, companies will have HR interviews, and also sometimes the entire interview process will be combined into one. And if you are going for a company, say like Google, they have like 13 rounds of interviews altogether. So there is that. But let's just stick on with two interviews. One would be technical, one would be HR. So, and most probably, if it's a division, right, your technical interview will come even before your HR interview. So, technical interview, it used to be, there used to be very minimal chances that those were offline in my days, because I was graduating just after the COVID wave hit. But most probably for you guys, those would be offline, which is great actually, which is a great learning curve. And other times it would be online process. So either way, there has to be a very basic set of etiquettes that you have to follow in an interview. First things is like, even if you're in an online meeting, or if you're attending offline, there you should be dressed accordingly, you should be groomed accordingly. So the thing is, okay, we have a term called business casuals, and that usually means, just for boys it's pants, shirt, I mean full sleeve shirts, tie and everything is optional, coat and everything is optional. So that doesn't, I mean, you don't have to overdress, but you just have to make sure like you have a very formal shirt, a formal pant, belt, and if you're going for an offline thing, shoes, formal shoes and everything. For ladies, it's you can stick to business. I mean, there is a definition of business formals. It can be sarees are acceptable. It can be coats and everything. So I mean, it has a more openness to it when it comes to the case of ladies. But for gents, it has to be. You can have tuxedos. You can have everything, but at least you should have a professional shirt, a formal pant, set of pair of shoes, a belt, and everything. And the next thing is okay. These are like basic things you should have. I mean, your hair should be in a presentable manner. If you have a beard and everything, just trim it so that you yourselves are presentable. I mean, there are guys with lots of beard, and that would not be properly maintained. So I mean, at the end of the day, even if you're technically capable, it's all a psychological thing. So just trim your beards, uh, trim your hair. I mean, not cut your hair completely. It's just have it in a presentable manner. Trim your nails and everything. So have that look in a smart way, as in try to have a you know try to get a feeling from the person at the other side that you are taking this seriously. I mean, they might not care about whether you're dressed properly or not, but they will certainly, if you just go with something casual, they'll certainly care about, okay, this guy has come in a casual attire and uh, without any care for his nails or his chapels and everything. So that would be obviously a bad remark. It's not about whether you're dressed or I mean, whether you have the actual dressing or grooming. It's about the intent that you are showing there. So that is the first thing when you have to look out for when you go for an interview. And the second thing is okay, and I have seen this question pop up many times. So how should, I mean, if it's an offline interview, how should we approach the interviewer? So most probably interviews, you will be sitting opposite the table. Interviewer will be the other side of the table. It might be a single interview. It might be multiple interviewers, but just have you are usually supposed to carry your resume to the interview. Just have your resume in hand. If it's an online interview, just have it somewhere as a document that is readily presentable or like readily sendable in a PDF format. Uh, when you start, I mean, if it's a meeting, when you're starting, just greet I mean, don't let the interviewer be the person to greet you. Instead, be the person that greets the interviewer instead. Let's just say like good morning or good evening or whatever specific, depending on whatever specific time of the day, be the person who takes the initiative. Always have a smile, as in always have a uh, kind of mentality where even if they ask you something like you don't know completely, just have a smile. And that, I mean, that psychologically will go a long ways in, using an interview. That is the first thing. And if it's an offline interview, right, you will be usually, you will have to sit opposite an interviewer. So just uh, approach them, greet them, ask them for permission to sit down, and they will usually ask you for your resumes. So just hand it over. Now, technical interviews, right? These kind of interviews are where you will be asked questions that are related to your coursework mostly, and mostly these are IT companies, so those would be specific IT questions altogether. And in these scenarios, right, the people, I mean, companies usually have people internally who have experience in taking interviews for people who are joining the company parallelly, let's say after 2 or 3 years. So those will be the same set of people who would be coming to your colleges or coming in an online interview uh, for interviewing you. And the implication is that these people will be already having a very good experience in interviewing people. So your mentality has to be, uh, these people already know most of the answers to the questions, what you're I mean, how you're gonna answer, and what they're looking for is okay. confidence in the way you answer, and obviously the subject knowledge. So if you jump into IT, into companies that IT companies that come and interview you, and I'm just saying this out loud, but for the next 2 or 3 years, data structures and algorithms is not going to fade, at least for the next 2 or 3 years. I know AI, ML is becoming a big thing, but you need to have your basics in these things. They will ask you questions about, let's say, what is a pointer, or they will ask you questions about, I need to print something, I need to have this output. What, as a programmer, would you suggest to be the, code or algorithm for this thing? And second thing, you should be, if it's an IT interview, you should know how to write algorithms. That is an important thing. Programs are made from algorithms. Algorithms just shows them your thought process is clear. You know what all to expect. You know what all to write, and you know how to structure a program. And the main thing is, okay, be well versed in your subjects, even if it's IT, mechanical, civil, or anything. Uh, yeah, I saw someone raising their hand, so I'll just finish this and then we can take the questions. So I was saying, be well versed in your subjects, especially your S5, S6 subjects. Like those will be the core areas that will be most beneficial to you, and those will be your core subjects, and you will have to be well versed in those subjects. Even if you don't ace your exams, your university exams or anything, just have a high level understanding and idea of how these things are working. And the next thing is, okay, they will ask you a lot of technical questions, and they are, as freshers, right? They are not expecting you to answer all those questions. They're just expecting you to answer minimum set of questions, and at the same time, they are trying to see how you would react to a question that you have no answer to. So I have been in many scenarios where I do not know the answer to a specific question that the interviewer has asked. So the most in such situations, right, there will be questions where you have zero idea what the question is even about, or you haven't heard about the topic. In such situations, don't try to be over smart, because the interviewer will see right through you if you try to manufacture something. Uh, just politely answer, sir or ma'am, I'm not well versed in that specific topic, but also at the same time ask them if they would be able to explain the topic so you can understand that. That means, like, what this specifically shows is, okay, even though you are not, you do not have the idea on the specific topic, you are interested in learning that. So that shows that you are interested in learning, which companies are looking for. That is one thing. And second thing is, okay, for such kind of questions where you have at least a 5% knowledge of the thing, just produce the 5% and say, according to my limited understanding, these are all the things. But I understand my knowledge would be permitted, and this would be done in a different manner. So answer the questions like that. But uh, the main thing is, okay, do not give blunt answers. Say, I don't know the answer. Just do not leave it at like that. Be diplomatic of your answer when you don't know the answer to an entire thing. And second thing is, okay, I have been in your shoes before. I know getting into an interview is a very nervous thing. Just keep a bottle of water somewhere. I know it's a nervous thing, and especially for your first interviews, as a person, you need to experience a first interview to get the hang of it. But for those first interviews, right, keep a bottle of water nearby. The interviewer always wants to analyze your test you when you are not in a nervous state. So they themselves will not use that to their advantage. They will want to speak to you openly, and they will say, "Don't be nervous, be calm." So don't go an interview like, okay, if I become nervous, okay, they will take advantage of it. Don't be like that. I mean, try not to be nervous, but at the same time, if you are becoming nervous, just ask the interviewer, say, can I take 1 or 2 minutes for a breather? Just drink some water and then continue. So at least you are speaking at your full capacity when you're answering the question. So that is one thing. And interviews are just, just consider it to be a meeting between two people. You do not have to be nervous about anything. It's just someone else who had been in your same position maybe 5 or 10 years before and just asking you questions. So they understand it. And I'm not saying like every interviewer will be a good guy. There might be some of them might be harsh, but the main thing is okay. You don't lose your cool. Uh, you speak to them in a polite manner. You try to answer your questions and for those questions you don't know, you try to answer in a diplomatic way, saying, "Okay, so I don't know the answer to this specific question, or I this is my knowledge," and just let it be. And you know, it's just a person who is sitting opposite. So um, how you will be judged will be comparative to all others that have attended to interviews. So just do your best. Don't think too much when you go in an interview. Just dress accordingly. Have a proper meeting. If it's offline meeting, just have a proper formal attire and everything. Go sit straight. Have this conversation. If it's an online interview, the same thing applies, except you will have to be on camera. So be in a place which is actually very well lit. Uh, it make sure you have a very stable internet connection because internet connection getting disconnected every time is not something that is not because of you, but psychologically that would be a bad remark on you. So get into a place where we have a better connectivity and just go have a discussion with the person sitting at the other side. So that's about interviews and spoken about technical interviews. And there is a subset of technical interview where you have to actually get into a call. They will actually ask you to code in a live editor. So those are called live coding interviews. There are some companies that actually do live coding interviews. There will be one or multiple people who will be in the same call. They'll it would be opened in a browser. They'll give you a scenario. They will just ask you to write down the code. So just consider it as a normal um, code test round. Just write the code through. And the main pressure situation of these kinds of interviews, right, is like you will have to speak while you're typing, right? They'll be asking you questions, so you will have to let them know what your approach is. If say they ask you to print a pattern of pyramid made of star, they will actually while you're coding, they'll actually ask you why are you doing this or why are you doing that. So in such kinds of interviews, right, be prepared to just be prepared to have a technical coding session. Just be prepared to start typing in a single language. Be prepared to have your mind at two places. One is where you are actually typing the code, and other is where you're minding the questions from the interviewer. So uh, these are like pressure situations that the interviewer actually put you into because they need to know if you conflicted between two scenarios. One is writing a code and one is speaking to someone. Will you be able to complete a task that they themselves are assigned to? So that is a kind of interview that comes under technical round. And again, as I said, sometimes interviews will not have any separations. Might be technical HR combined, it would be a single interview. And in those kinds of interviews, it would be usually three persons. One would be a technical guy, one would be a senior guy from the company, and the other would be an HR or an HR related person. And always in all the interviews, right, they will give you scenario based questions. Say you have two buckets, one can hold 6 liters of water, other can hold 5 liters of water. So those kind of questions, those kind of brain exercises. We prepared with some of those questions. It's usually an exercise that interviewers actually ask you, and this is actually to test your thinking. I mean, problem solving capability. So this usually comes from an HR person, and in those situations or those interviews where HR is a separate, I mean, completely separate section, we call that an HR interview. And for those companies, like right, technical interviews would be one thing, HR interviews would be another thing. So HR interviews would be much relaxed as compared to technical interviews, and you are not in a pressure to showcase your technical skills there. They will ask you questions, as in they will ask you questions about you, yourselves, your family. They'll ask you your plans. They'll ask you about your project, your involvement with extracurricular activities. So be open, present yourself in a with a smile in those interviews because it's an HR interview. Op, speak with confidence, and also at the same time, be honest about the answers you are giving, because you an HR would obviously see through the things that we try to manufacture. So don't be that guy. Be open, be honest, be answer those kind of questions. And it's an HR interview, so there is not much that can go wrong except your attitude and the way you actually answer. So be polite, have a smile. Those kinds of things would actually get through you through the HR round. And depending on your companies, right? This might be the last phase of interview that you are having. And for most companies, this would be. And then you will have to, wait for a couple of days to actually get a response from the entire interviewing board, or maybe it might be a single person that sends you the mail. It might be a company mail, but just be patient. And some companies actually reach out to you even if they have rejected you. Some companies will only reach out to you if they have given you an offer. So just be mindful of that. Like, not all companies will give you a rejection email or a rejection letter. They would uh, just would not give you a response. So wait for a couple of days. And you might have heard people saying, "Okay, follow up is always nice," but that was like 25. That is a 25-year-old practice, and that applies. I mean, that does not apply for freshers. So if you are in you already had 2 years experience, and you are applying for an interview, and then you are sending it to an HR, that is fine. But you're as a fresher, right? It doesn't make much of an impact that you are following up on such things. So you can follow if you are, say, sitting like 1 or 2 weeks after an interview, you do not get an response. You can obviously follow up, but that is not highly expected of you guys. So yeah, that is one thing. As in, you guys, it's not a mandatory thing. You guys do not have to do that. Uh, Again, another thing about these interviews is, okay. You would be Okay, as I've already discussed. You would be given scenario-based questions, so you'll have to answer those points. And if you are in a situation where you are just stuck, okay, you are like, what is a 60-liter bucket? What is this 5-liter bucket? Okay, just let them know what your thought process is. Be confident when you're saying it. I mean, even for such kinds of questions, right? Even if what you might be thinking is completely dumb, but just let them know, okay, this is the uh, type of thinking that I am, letting taking thinking through to answer this question. And even if it is a dumb thought, right? Maybe, and most probably they will give you at least bonus points for trying. So that is one thing. And yeah, I mean, that sums up the entire placement process. It's just set of coding tests, set of GDs, set of interviews, and these interviews can be multiple interviews. Some companies, as I said, even Google has 13 levels of interviews, which are progressively difficult. And if you are in a company that has multiple interviews, be prepared for the fact that, okay, one interview after other, it will only get difficult. And for most of those companies, right, those would be mostly around technical capabilities. So be mindful of that. And one other main thing that I want to discuss is your project work. So most of you guys would be in, I mean, S5 or S7 since you are attending this meeting. And projects, BTech projects, right? Those are like statements of what you can actually do. So if you are a person who is yet to get into project work, who is yet to choose a startup project, when you choose a topic, right? Be mindful of what you choose. If it's a core CSI, you're a CSITC student, always choose what is relevant in your field. Say if it's something in mechanical, choose what is relevant in mechanical. If it's in IT, choose what is relevant in IT. Say in IT, AI is the most relevant thing now. So try to choose such things. But if you have a sincere passion for something that is not a hot topic now. Just go for that. The main thing or main output of a project work is okay. You are proving what you can do with the type of education that the university or the college has actually given you. So this would obviously be a talking point, a discussion point in any kind of interviews, be it a technical interview, be it an HR interview. For a technical interview, okay, they will if you're from an IT or a related branch, they will obviously ask you for your project work, and what they would obviously grill you through specifics of what that project and what your contributions were to that project. So you will have to have answers for what those are. You have to prove, okay, these are the things I did. I did the leadership of these things. I implemented these things, and then they will obviously ask you technically detailed technical questions on it. And this applies for even other branches as well. And as in, if you are a mechanical engineer student and you are attending an IT interview, even then, if the interviewer is a person from IT, or even if the interview is a person from a mechanic, it's a mechanical related company, they will obviously grill you through this. But if it's an IT company, even in that situation, they will ask you questions as much as their capability goes, and that is to understand, okay, how much of a team player, a leader, and also how much effort you actually put into one of those projects, because projects are what a company actually runs on, and that is the gauge. How you actually perform in a project is a gauge that companies actually keep maintain to analyze one person from other. So that is about project work. And other important thing that I want to speak about is your resume. So a question that I hear most of these days is, okay, we have these automated AI tools that will filter out your resume. So what format or what kind of, okay, exactly, what format should you follow when you prepare a resume? And the answer to that is, okay, just go to Google, type in Harvard template resume. You will get you can go to Google Images. You will get a very textual looking black and white resume template, which would have very minimal fields, which includes just education, experience, leadership and activities, skills and interests, etc. So these are like very basic resumes. Those are readable by an AI. Those are even easily readable by a human when they have to. So when preparing resumes, right, do not go for the most colorful templates or anything. Since the industry is moving to these AI-based tools and everything, have a very simple resume, basic resume, with a black and white textual format. And the things you should include as a fresher would be a uh, initial section should be your name, your contact information, which would be followed by a small paragraph or a statement about yourselves, your educational experience, and also your work experience, as well as your skills, and mainly your technical skills, what languages, what frameworks, what subjects you are very well versed in, your volunteering experience, and that goes a long way. Your volunteering experience, because showing a company that you are a volunteer means it already proves that you are already a team player, someone who can take the leadership. So all those things you should include in your resume. And building a resume is right. That is a discussion that is entirely another 30-minute discussion. So I won't delve into that much. But yeah, in a nutshell, this is what as individuals you should have, you should take care of when you go for a placement, right? And I believe there are some questions, right, Nitin, that should be answered. So I'll take the questions now. Yep. So I think we have already discussed this topic. So every interview to interview is going to be different. The main things is, okay, for interviews, do not be nervous, keep your cool, speak in a polite manner. You won't be a subject expert in something that they may be asking, but If you do not know something, just answer it in a diplomatic way, saying, "I do not know the complete answer to this thing, but this much is what I know about this thing." And if you know the answer to something, speak it out confidently. Always have a smile, have a open attitude. Do not give blunt answers. And again, for GD, the same set of things applies. So I think we can move on to the next question. So some of this would be repeated, right? Yeah, yeah. That is a great question. So beforehand, one of the main things that I as an individual would always look for before I attend an interview is okay. I would go and make a sense of what the company that I'm interviewing for is actually doing. Say I'm a person working at SADA, so if I am to be interviewed by SADA today, I would look at SADA's website. I would make a sense of what SADA is doing currently, what are their products, what are the services, questions like who is their CEO, who is the COO, what is their net worth and everything, how much impact that company is making. Questions like what are the main sectors that they work on, let's say something like healthcare or everything. And those are the questions that I would prepare myself specific to a company. And other preparations, okay, in every interview, when you get into an interview, you will have to have a self introduction. So this would be at least a 2 minute thing that you have to do. And for most of the people, the best thing is to just write down a self introduction. And that would mean your name, where you come from, uh, what are your interests, what specific areas in IT or areas in mechanical engineering or who are you are interviewing to, depending on that, what specific areas that are you actually interested in. And always try to frame this self introduction in a way that it aligns with the main goals of the company. So if it's a company that is involved with making front end applications, right? uh, if you yourself are the person who is interested in front end development, just try to include those points in your introduction. Just say as part of your introduction, I'm a person who is passionate about front-end development. I have worked on these frameworks. I believe I can learn much, and I can progress if the company is giving you the opportunity. So always have that in your mind. But please make a 2 minute introduction. uh, Always for your ease, have this written somewhere. Prepare yourself by repeating, looking yourself into the mirror, repeating this thing, and it should not come out as something that you have just uh, taken by heart and you're just repeating. It should come like you're saying this in an honest manner. So your expression should actually match that, and that's why I'm saying okay, just be relaxed, just practice yourself in a mirror even before you start an interview. So I think those are the specific preparations I would make an interview. And communication, right? Main things is okay. If it's a camera based interview, look directly into the camera, maintain eye contact with the person who is sitting opposite. And sometimes they won't be on camera. You will be on camera, but always remember that maintain eye contact. Do not wander your eyes here and here. Like okay, this, and if it's a formal offline interview, you try to just consider it as a conversation between you and a person. Just try to see it as a chat, a tea time chat between two people. So keep that in mind and don't be nervous. Just answer a question like you just answer a question from a normal person. And I think that's it about communication. You just have to be polite. You don't have to be very formal or anything. You just have to be polite. You just have to answer the questions that they ask. Just make it a conversation, and the more you make it a conversation, the more chances are okay the interviewer will see that you have the capability to strike a conversation with a potential client in the future. So that would always be a plus point. Then I think we can move to the next question. Yeah. You're breaking. Uh, Okay, I think whoever asked this question was thinking about okay multiple companies. So when you're going for an interview, always have one resume in your mind. Don't have multiple resumes for a single company. But see, it's a competitive. Interviews are a competitive thing. So as I said, if you're going for a company that is specialized in front-end applications, when you're writing your resume in your in your certification section or your technical section skill, right? Uh, Put those skills that are relevant to that specific company that you're looking for first, and then the other skills at the last. So the better way would be to most since you are also working on your BTech projects, right? You will be almost familiar with NATEC and those kinds of templated formats. So have a template, a resume template, uh, and have a generic resume at first. If you want to alter your resume specifically for a company, just shift things around. But when going into one interview, only have a resume. Try to make it a single page resume as much as you could, but two pages also that is fine. But yeah, multiple resumes not a bad idea, but be mindful. Okay, how you actually how we are actually going to manage that one. So yeah. I think we have discussed this one. So see, an interviewer will always see through you if you try to manufacture something. So and these people will be already having enough experience, seeing lots of freshers. So if it's a thing that you know partially of, say this is a limited understanding. I just say your understandings and say this is my based on my limited understanding. I am open to learning what further is in this field. And if you do not know something, say okay, uh, I do not have a great idea on this specific topic being asked, but I'm willing to learn this field and could you please explain this topic for me? So that is the best answer to handle those situations. Oh man, now we are going for the Germans. We are starting negotiation. Okay. Uh, okay. I mean, most of the interviews you guys will be attending, those would be already having a very base package or something already set up. So most of these companies, right? And most of those interviews when they come, when you guys go for it, they are actually expecting uh, not a negotiation on those ones because let's say I'll put an example. So company like TCS, right? They have two packages which is like 3.6 lakh per annum, and I think another one is 5 lakh per annum, which is TCS Digital. So obviously in those situations, right, they're expecting you to stick to the base pay, but there are other companies besides campus placement where there are open positions. You're a fresher, that is true, but you might have experience in working on some of those things. So a negotiation, the main thing is you're a fresher. So if you are negotiating, have a personal project or something that you can showcase there. Um, Again, I'll come to the example of a front-end developer. So if you are a front-end developer, just have your website or something that you have done. Get into this conversation. If you get an offer from an interviewer, if it's a dynamic offer, right? You get an interview from an offer from an interviewer saying, "I'll give you this much amount," and you feel that is too low. Just answer in a polite way, saying, "Sir, ma'am, uh, I feel my skills and abilities require further compensation. I am willing to show my capabilities, and then you can just present your, I mean, the work you have done. You can also re-verbalize the main things, especially your project work and everything, and the main things that you have contributed to such things. So your negotiation, right? Uh, Negotiation as a fresher is going to be difficult if you are just going for a company that already has a package defined. But if you are going for a company that does not have a package defined, you need to have a work product to start the negotiation. That would be your biggest asset. And just let's say you do not have a work asset or anything, right? You do not have anything to show. Uh, just try to reiterate on the work that you have done for your project and try to explain it much further, and that would be the best way to have a negotiation. But again, there as freshers, right? There is a point at which they would actually want to stop a negotiation. So actually, be mindful of just Google it what companies are offering for which role. So be mindful of that, and don't just go and say this company is offering this much to another company. As in, that is blatantly telling them, okay, even if you don't give me a job, I can go get a job there. So if your intent is okay to get a job there, be mindful of the way you're saying, especially in a negotiation. Show your work product, even if it's a BTech project that you have done. So yeah, and this question mostly applies for people who have worked like 2 or 3 years, who have worked in like 2 or 3 years in the industry. Like someone for me, this applies more for me. Where if I go to another company, I'll be in a position where I have actual projects and actual client deliveries and testimonials that I can showcase. So yeah, I didn't get the question completely. If you um, pass, I didn't get the context, but okay, let's just say if it's a GD or something, you're okay. Saying if you are asked a direct question and you don't know the answer. Okay, I mean, okay, if interviewer is asking, yeah. I don't think, from my experience, that would be a big issue, but always be mindful of what the other person is saying. And I mean, it's just people, right? The person on the other end, see, from a professional standpoint, it's not a big thing, but the person at the other end might feel, okay, this person is not paying enough attention or he's not taking the initiative. So try not to, but won't be a very big issue. Yeah. Uh, I mean, there is no minimum CGPA or anything, guys. It's just, see, college prepares us for college and marks that prepares us for a, different world, a professional world. And companies, honestly, when companies come to a college, they would ask for a minimum CGPA, and that would be, let's say, from what I've seen, is like 7 point. Some companies start with 7.5 CGPA. Some would start with 7.0. But if you are a person with, very, and obviously, I mean, they're coming into a college, so they would want to pick the best talents, and in a college scenario, that is being judged by the CGPA that you guys are putting. Um, so, but at the same time, for people who are scoring a lesser CGP or anything, right, your marks do not completely present who you are. So, in the I mean, there are chances that like companies will actually allow people to sit through without consideration for any GPS, and in those uh, interviews, like in those interviews, you will have to show your technical capabilities. As in, you will have to show the personal projects you have done. You will have to speak much better as compared to people who has higher GPA. So GPA in itself does not determine anything, but yeah, companies coming into a college usually look for at least a 7.0. So uh, and even they don't look for anything above nine, honestly. As in, anything you go above 9 would be treated the same way. As in, you might be a class topper, that would be a plus point, but otherwise, it's just one person in the crowd. That's it. Yeah. Many skills, and as Indians, right? Companies, what they look for from us is, okay, we are in a world where everything is connected, so it's a hybrid format now. We would be working with people, developers from the US, from Europe, and other parts of the world. And if you're lucky, you would be applying for a position where you're really client facing. So in jobs can be, things where you are just a developer. You just deliver the code, you deploy those code. So, and it can be jobs where you are a developer and also you are a consultant. So, for me personally, I work in a scenario of a company where I'm expected to be both. So, the main things a company looks for you from is okay. One thing is how good of a team player are you. It's like as an individual person, you might be a hidden, but it you know for the company to make use of your skills, you should be a person who should be able to work with other people, and that gives a better work product. It's not a single person, it's multiple person, it's a team effort. So that is one thing. Second thing is flexibility. You might have seen many technologies or even many subjects in college, but when you come to the industry, right, the modern tools or the modern frameworks that the industry is using are things that you will not have even heard of during your college days and even in your final year curriculum. So uh, you will have to showcase your flexibility, as in you will have to say, you will, if they ask you, okay, are you willing to learn this, are you willing to learn that, you will have to showcase that, okay, you are flexible enough to learn that. And especially IT is a very dynamic industry. Technologies change. It's always a learning curve. Even for people who have 3, 6, or even 10 years of experience, a new technology will come up. So show that flexibility to learn, flexibility to take on another. Willingness to take on another role. Even if you are one. I had a scenario where there was a specific company for which I interviewed, and I didn't get that specific role, but because I showcase that I am a person who is willing to take on a flexible role if that is offered. That company actually offered me another position 3 months after, and that was not an open interview or anything. They just called me, they just offered me another position saying, we have an position that is open for you. So that flexibility goes a long way. And yeah, another thing is your English communication skills. So I'm not saying you should be a person with a eight, 8 or a 9 band IELTS score, but uh, you would be working with people in different parts of the world, and especially from the US. So, and God forbid, and it would be a very great experience for you to actually speak to the client. And most of them would use English as their primary uh, communication mechanism. And you don't have to develop an accent or anything, but some companies, right, they give very good emphasis on how much capable you are in conveying ideas. It can be broken English, but your ability to convey an idea clearly. Say a client asks you, okay, how this thing is working, you will need at least you will need to have at least the capability to explain it in a way that the client knows, okay, there is this component, there is this component, and this works. That's it. You don't have to be a fluent speaker or anything, but English it does go a long way. And I think that summarizes some of the points. There are a lot of points, but these three things are the important ones that I've seen so far in my interviews. Yep. So see, our entire IT industry is taking a shift towards machine learning and artificial intelligence. So things like DSA will be phased out, let's say, in 5 or 6 years. But for the time being, mass recruiting companies, you're freshers. They do not expect you to know anything of this advanced technology. So they need something to test you on, and they will obviously use data structures and algorithms. And second thing is, okay, data structures and algorithms is a very core component of an IT career. You cannot, if you're a software developer, you cannot work without an understanding of this thing. So it's better to tackle that topic earlier on. It's important now. It won't be as important maybe 5 or 6 years later. But either way, just familiarize yourself with the topic, and having an understanding uh, goes a long way when you start to have the actual trainings in your company itself. So yeah, DSA is important. Yeah. Um, See, we have this many portals and sites. Like there is a site called, believe its name was Greenhouse or something. We have certain portals. There is a site called Naukari. So the thing is, okay, most of these roles outside, I mean, most of the roles that are completely open, right? Those will be massive recruitment companies like TCS, Infosys, and all big companies. So those kinds of opportunities, right? You will anyways be notified by your college or by your friends. So um, I think the main discussion should be how would I find opportunities that are not provided in a traditional manner. So I mean, we have our hands tied us, and we can only use these sites like Naukri and things, and but those roles would obviously be more demanding. And I mean, even a simple Google search on job opportunities in this specific field will yield certain results. So that is one thing. And again, sites like Naukri, but if freshers, I mean, as freshers, you would be mostly uh, notified of these bigger opportunities. But for the other things, just go with sites like Naukri. Yeah, you guys are not even in the work then. Okay, I will say this is someone who has worked 2 years in the industry. The first 2 or 3 years, put yourself out there. Don't be thinking about work-life balance because that 1 or 3 years would be the foundation of your entire life if you're staying in the IT industry. So work-life balance, okay, it would be uh, you can achieve that. Say you can just work for 8 hours a day. You can spend the rest of the hours. I think after you come out of college, right, the things entire the way you lived for the 4 years that would obviously change. But for the first 3 years, I don't have a concept. Okay, I will only work like 8 hours or 9 hours. Just be willing to take up the work and to strike that balance, right? To not let yourself burn out. Um, I mean, you would be working in the company Monday to Friday, let's say Monday to Saturday. Have that off day to yourself. Do not indulge yourself in company activities. Let's say if it's a Saturday or Sunday. And I mean, work only to a point where the you are working and you are able to showcase your work. Do not be someone like, okay, I'll work and I'll work, but I won't showcase my work. So if you're doing the extra effort, showcase that and put in the extra effort for the first 2 or 3 years. But uh, post that, as in maintaining a work life balance, that has been something that has been difficult for me as a person. But I have constantly improved on it. I have we will be having meetings and everything in companies. So I have come to a timetable where I will have certain times of my, I mean, working hours of my day blocked for work, specific hours of my day blocked for other things, as in while I'm out of work. So my calendar will be blocked. I won't be available for many things. But if it's a critical thing, I'll obviously jump in. So it's a thing everyone has to find out for themselves what best works for them. But for the first 1 to 3 years, right? Don't expect it to be a better process. It would be difficult, and you have to make it difficult if you need to have a better future in this industry. So yeah. But again, you guys are thinking about work-life balance even before getting into a job. That's interesting. Yeah. Yeah. Internship. So this I mean, internships. Okay, there are many possibilities for. I mean, speaking honestly, there are kinds of internships you can actually pay to a company and you can get an internship certificate. So internships are not necessary. You Obviously you will get a edge, okay, if you are doing an internship. But see, that only applies for a company if you're doing an internship from somewhere that is reputed. So personally, I myself has done an internship in my final year of college. I had done it from UST Global, Trivandrum. So I just it was in the final year, so I just did it for 2 months. It was a bit hectic with my exams and everything going on. But me as an individual, I chose only to go for an internship if that was a relevant internship. And UST was a paid internship. And how to get internships, that is an entire different question. I think that is similar and very equivalent to how to actually apply for a job. And these big companies, let's say Infosys, TCS, UST, those guys will be always putting out internships, and there will be a large number of applications for that. And to get into an internship, you will have to show some personal projects or something that you yourself have done. But the general question, okay, should I do an internship? Yes, yes, if you can. But that internship experience you are showing to a company will only be relevant for them if you have done it from somewhere, or if you have actually done some work in it. I mean, something that you are paying it to somewhere and just getting a certificate that won't do you any good or do the company any good. So, yeah. And also, you don't have to be top on your field or anything. It's say there is no single technology that will dominate a field altogether. You have to be you have to be familiarized with it. It's great if you're good at it, but any way when you're getting in a company, they will give you the training. So yeah, you don't have to be like, okay, I don't have an expertise in this, so I have no sense. Yep. Quite honestly, everyone's first interview would be a nervous affair. Once you get once you complete the first interview, you would feel okay, and you would feel okay. You can ace any other interview, but as I said, okay, just your self introductions and everything. Right? Just prepare yourself before the interview, like 15 minutes or something. Just calm yourself. Just sit at some place, listen to music or read something, or just keep your mind away from the interview completely. 5 minutes or something before that, just come in, log in, have a glass of water or a bottle of water nearby. Just get in the interview, greet the interviewer, and have a conversation. So try to keep yourself calm and don't do anything. Uh, don't get yourself tensed just before 15 minutes of the interview. If you do not know something, you're trying to. I mean, this applies for K2, right? K2 exams as well. Do not try to be in exam mode where you're trying to cram in everything 15 minutes before the interview. Just take that 15 minutes to relax yourself and then prepare yourself to sit in front of a meeting. That's it. Uh, Again, that is a question for the placement cell. In my, I mean, while I was attending my interviews in GECB, it was a scenario where I I can only apply to a company if that company offered me a higher package as compared to an offer that I already have. So if let's say I had an offer 3.5 lakhs or something, I can only attend a higher package. And for most placements, it would be a different story altogether. Some of them allow, some of them don't. So I don't exactly know what is the scenario with GCB placements. And so again, it's a question for the placements. And but again, one thing. So if you feel you won't go to a company, even if you get an offer, don't just apply for the company, because you are just part of a crowd of people who are looking for a job. And uh, if you just get that offer, you just rejected it, you're just wasting someone else's opportunity. So when you apply, right, be mindful of that. But see, there is no harm in having an offer, but another company comes along, it has a higher package. So go for that. That is not an issue. Again, that is how the industry works. So yeah, uh, that that is a heavy one. So I'll give you uh, two perspectives. One is from the perspective of how a company works. A service-based company would be, you you would be a service provider. Company itself is a service provider. Uh, I'm part of an organization. SADA is a service-based company. So we work in GCP Google Cloud. We make we are consultants to the client. We do projects from the client based on the specific requirements, and that is all based on something that is already there. And for us, it is Google Cloud Platform. So that is simply a services based company. Like you are already using tools that is offered by someone. You are the consultant. You are the developer who is using those tools to make the correct requirement for the client. Whereas a product-based company, right? These are companies that makes their own applications altogether mostly. So let's say, um, see, uh, if I have to speak out an example, Camstack is a product-based company. It's based out of Technopark, and they have been recruiting from GCB often. And Camstack is a company that specializes in software for dental care, and it's they themselves are working on a product. They will be supporting that product for even 10 or 15 years. That is their working product that is built from scratch. So that is what a product based company means. I mean, in the entire IT scenario. But for us, as individuals getting into these companies, right, a product based company will always be മറ്റു പറഞ്ഞാൽ first 2 years will be പട്ടിപ്പണി. പണി. Your working hours will be very longer. But the main reward of that is okay. After 2 years, you will be an expert in that field. You you can ace any interview, or you can just jump to another company because you would be a highly sought after commodity. Let's say you're working in front end. After 2 years in a product based company, you would just be a complete expert in that specific field, and that is the good of a product based company. The bad of that is okay, work pressure will be there, working hours will be longer, and services based company it won't be that much. If you need to become an expert in something, you have to put in the work yourselves. So from my experience, that has been the difference between those two. But the way those two works, right, one of them makes things, one of them uses products to build and deliver services. Yeah, I think that is. I think not, and we have overshot. It's like 8:30. So yeah, and I would like to extend my gratitude to IST GCB branch, and I was an active volunteer, and it's great to see like the society is still going on better than even when I was in my college days. So thank you guys for inviting me. Always happy to attend these kind of meetings, give these kind of talks, and to speak openly to my juniors after having gotten an experience from what actually IT field is, and to tell that honestly to you, that is a different feeling. So thanks guys, thank you for inviting me, and I pass over the mic to Nitin so for any closing comments.
As we conclude this insightful session, I want to extend my sincere gratitude to everyone involved. First and foremost, thank you to our distinguished speaker, Mr. Mani Jose, for sharing your valuable insights and expertise. It was truly inspiring. A big thank you to all the participants for your enthusiasm and engagement. Your presence made the session memorable. Thank you, everyone. I hope you all found it helpful and motivating as you prepare for your placements. Once again, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Zeta.